My name is JB Bolvedin, and I've built up over the last few years one of the best real estate training companies in the country. I have a huge passion for the business entrepreneurship, and I also have a huge passion for cars. So I decided to get the best real estate entrepreneurs in the country, interview them, and we go through a step-by-step process of what they did to get to where they are today, and we do it driving in some of the best cars on the planet. This is Hot Rides in Real Estate.
Need anything for the car?
Eric Braun, not your average lender. So basically, you came into the scene. When did you come into the mortgage industry? When did it start for you?
2015, 2016.
Wow, and how'd you get into it?
I fell into the industry, man. I don't think anybody grows up and says, you know, I want to be a loan officer when I grow up. So there's a whole story behind it. When I was 18, I met an individual that, like, from what I could see, he was successful. You know, he was always in suit and tie. Drove an Audi. I'm a big car guy, so that's why this whole thing means a lot to me. I appreciate you bringing me on, but
it's my pleasure.
So he drove a brand new Audi. In my head, if you wear a suit and tie and you drive an Audi, you must be you must be extremely wealthy, right? This is me when I'm 18, and we stayed in touch. I turned 20, so 2 years later, after 2 years of knowing him, he asked me one day, he was like, what are you doing for work? And I said nothing. In fact, at this point in my life, I'm completely lost. I have somewhat of a plan, but I haven't really embarked on the journey yet. And my plan was to go into the FDNY like my father and follow his footsteps and become a medic and live that life. But so I'm at this point in my life where I don't have anything. I don't know what I'm doing. He asked me to come work, and I'm like, or he asked me what I was doing for work, and I said nothing. He's like, do you want a job? I was like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, how about this? I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna buy a new A8, which is an Audi. Yeah. It's like the big body Audi. It's like the perfect car for a doctor or a lawyer or something like that.
Yeah.
In my head, the A8 is like, at that point in my life, it's like, wow. You know? So he said, I'm gonna buy an A8 and you're gonna be my chauffeur.
Oh.
And I'm like, that sounds like a dream job. For a car guy, I'm unemployed, don't know what I'm doing. Absolutely, when do you want me to start? And after like 3 weeks, I would see him occasionally, probably once or twice a week. And every time I saw him, it was like, when are you gonna come work for me? When are you gonna come work for me? He just kept teasing me with the idea of driving an A8 and being his chauffeur. After 3 weeks of doing that, he goes, how about this? I have a real job for you. Come to the office. I didn't ask him what he did. I said, when do you want me to be there? I showed up. He put an employment package in front of me, and I filled it out, and I started cold calling. And I still, like, day one at the job, after the background check came back, which it did come back, so we were good on that end. I started, and I still didn't know what I was doing. I started telemarketing, just learning from him, and then at some point I started to take it seriously and make a decision. And that's when I got my license and started to really grow my business and not just be that telemarketer.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. That's the story.
So you started in the boiler room? Is that how this worked?
I would say a modern day boiler room where there was nothing illegal going on.
Right.
And it was a clean, professional environment. But yeah, it was a bunch of us cold calling, people to try and refinance or try and get them to refinance. So at that point, I was just kind of piquing interest and passing it off to a loan officer. And then maybe a year and a half, 2 years of doing that, I decided, you know what, let me take this seriously, because I saw the potential, and I made a decision to give it my all. And then, you know, it's always been my experience, when you make that decision, the universe rewards you, and if you take action, you're gonna get results.
Absolutely. So what were you doing before that, though? Like, what were you doing before mortgages? Like, what job were you in?
I baked bagels. I mean, and that's pretty much it. Baked bagels, you know. And it was my first job in high school, so I think you're able to legally start working when you're 16, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Working. So as soon as I could get my working papers, I started working at a friend of mine's dad's bagel shop, and I learned how to bake bagels, and I did that on the weekends throughout my whole high school, and then for a little bit after that. That's really the only skill. And then I was also volunteering as an EMT at my fire department where I live, which is kind of where we're going. But yeah, that was really it. That's all the things I had going for me at that point in my life.
So you went from that into basically a pretty lucrative career, which is mortgages. But did it start off lucrative?
No. And that's what nobody sees. Nobody sees that. You know, I would go to the office. I would try to drive to the office, and you know, I had $4 in my bank account to buy gas.
Wow.
And I would stop every time I had to pump my gas or buy breakfast or get coffee, anything that I had to buy, I would have to check my banking app first. You know, that was as far as financially speaking, that was the life that I was living. And the one thing that I knew, I didn't know how, I didn't know what I needed to do, but the one thing I knew is I didn't want to live like that.
Yeah.
And so at first it was not lucrative at all. It was a lot of grinding. You know, it's a eat what you kill job.
Yeah.
You know, so although, like, technically speaking, I'm an employee, I get a W-2, I work for a bank, I don't make money unless I close deals. So in any sort of job like that, there's always most of the time, there's always a struggle in the beginning. So that I'm definitely not an exception to that.
So basically, you know, I think a lot of people, when they get into any type of business, especially commission-based, they either think it's going to be easy or they think you're going to be rolling in dough. But in actuality, if you don't really have your process and the right system set up, you're going to starve.
Yep.
So it's really, you're either going to become very wealthy from it and successful from it, or it'll ruin you if you don't know what you're doing.
And that's why there's such a high turnover rate in our industry, because it's difficult. It's not something you just pick up. And especially if you're not connected with the right people. Like, that's when somebody, I get messages all the time from people who are starting off in the mortgage business, and they're like, I just got my license. What are your suggestions? Like, what should I do?
Yeah.
And I always tell them, get connected with the right people. So find your team. Find your team and do what they do. Because if you find successful people, then you have a plan. They already, you know, paved the road for you.
Right.
So I was lucky enough or blessed enough to find that individual that gave me my foundation, and then you can add your own spin to it later. And that's where my business started to come alive, when it was starting to become my business.
Right.
You know. But if I didn't have the team, if I didn't get connected with the team in the beginning, I don't think I would have been nearly as successful. I probably wouldn't be in the business right now.
Yeah.
Because that's so many people's story, right? You get started in real estate as a real estate agent. You're working under somebody. See that? There's an infinity. You better watch out. You better watch out.
Man.
So you get started under somebody. They don't give you support. They're not as nearly as successful as you imagined. And I mean, what do you think's gonna happen? It's almost inevitable. But good thing nowadays, like, you have people like yourself that you have access to all the information that you need to be successful. So even if you didn't get connected, with the right team or the right mentor, like if you want it bad enough, you're gonna seek one out. You're gonna
100%.
seek out a coach. You're gonna seek out even free content online. It's like there's no excuse anymore, you know. So, but yeah, I would definitely attribute a lot of my success to the team that I was blessed enough to get connected with.
100%. Now with your team, like when you really look at it that way, I think in addition to finding the right people, which is so important, right career, there's another piece to this that's actually really important as well, which is understanding what the right thing to do is in business.
Yep.
So like, I know your handle is not your average lender because you don't do things the average way.
Right.
My question to you is like, what are some things you saw when you first came into the industry and you're like, no, this is not acceptable. Like this can't be the norm.
A lot. A lot. I think there was a lot of, for lack of a better word, and this is not any disrespect, but there was like a lot of old dogs in the industry. And when I say old dogs, I mean people who were stuck in old ways, old strategies. I would say the one thing that comes to mind is like the concept that loan officers are begging realtors for business.
Right.
Right? So very common. In fact, most successful loan officers are getting business from referral partners, right?
Right.
It's one of the most successful strategies to build your network and connect with people who can send you business. Not that they're gonna buy or they're your customer, but connect with people like real estate agents, which is the most common one, and get business from them and you know, do the right thing by their customers so they continue to refer you. But the strategy or the way of going about it was in my head, I didn't like it. It didn't sit right with me because there was a lot of begging. There was a lot of, you know, oh, our company has this program, and you know, even we can close loans fast, and you know, we have such amazing rates.
Right.
Like those weren't, in my head, those weren't really real value propositions.
Right. It's kind of like, you know, you should have that anyway.
I mean, now that's the standard.
Right.
And you know, the thing is, when those people, when that generation were coming up in the industry, if you had that stuff, that was the value proposition.
Right.
Now it's shifted. Even the bigger banks are closing loans on time.
Yeah.
So that can't be your value proposition anymore. And that's one thing that I learned early on is like I have to constantly be asking myself, what separates me? What separates me? Why should somebody send me business? And that's when I focused and adopted the strategy of what I call real partnerships.
Right.
So that's a hashtag that I use a lot. A lot of people don't know what it is exactly until they sit down with me and I explain it. But basically it's the concept that I don't only want your business, I want to help you grow your business.
Right.
And no loan officer is going to do that for you. And there's a lot of different ways that I do that. From marketing to we can spend a whole hour talking about here's how I help with this and here's how I help with this, and I've implemented this process so that you can get more deals from it and or get accepted offers. There's a lot of different things, but my whole thing was, instead of begging realtors for business, let me actually add value to them, and then they're going to send me business regardless because I add value to them.
Because you become something that they actually need to grow.
Right.
And want to grow with.
Right. And there's also just like friendships, like, you know, like what a lot of my relationships now started off as business relationships, and now we're just friends that do business together.
Right.
And that's one of the, and I feel like that's me and your relationship, right? So 100%. We've never done a deal together. It's not like you're sending me business on a daily basis, but we got started as a business relationship.
Right.
And now it's just I have a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the beautiful things of this industry, and also to be able to, you know, ride in a Ferrari on the Southern State Parkway, you know?
That's right. Dude, speaking about Ferrari, let's talk about this car for a second.
Yeah.
Ferrari 458 Italia Spider. It's the last naturally aspirated Ferrari. It's got a Rift exhaust system to it, so things like spitting hot fire, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Probably get a little bit more. Maybe we'll try and beat that today with it.
I hope so.
It's got some power to it, man. Like, you know, we can close the gaps pretty quick.
That sound is a beautiful thing. There's nothing like the sound of a Ferrari.
Yeah, I love the way Ferrari sound. They're great cars. But I mean, I think one of the things that, like, even like for me, and I think since you're a car guy, you'll relate. I became a business person, and I love what I do, and I know you feel the same way. But I felt like one of the first things that made me want to make money was my passion for cars, so I can get one of these cars.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, you know, they become a marriage. Like, what were the cars you were looking at when you were a kid? Like, what were the things that you wanted?
So I actually, my first car was my dream. What was my like dream car at the time? And that was an Audi B5 S4, 2001 Audi S4, Nagaro blue. So that was like my high school. That's the car I want. And I actually worked my ass off. I don't know if we can curse on this, but I worked my ass off and got it. And now I love the idea of the Lamborghini Urus.
Yeah.
It's not in the cards right now. It would be very, very irresponsible for me to make that purchase. I mean, I'm a car guy, so you understand, like, I can't just pick one. There's got to be a few. You know, my garage will be stacked one day with things like this, and I think as a kid, Ferrari was always caught my eye. One of the things that like made me fall in love with cars is actually my grandfather. If I look back far enough, he had classic cars. Like I'm talking about cars from the 1920s and 1930s, and we would go to classic car meets, and I would sit on the rumble. It's called the rumble seat, where it faces back, and I would sit on that seat, and we would drive out to these classic car meets, and he would win awards, and that's really where it got started for me. And then it became German cars. I spent, and you talked about money, making money to buy cars. Like when I bought my first car, you never buy a used German car unless you have the plans of fixing every single thing in it, because everything will break. So
it's a lot more money than buying a new one.
Oh, 100%. And that was my experience, you know, like I was working for that car to keep it maintained, and yeah, it was a rough time. But yeah, I would say a Ferrari was always caught my eye.
Yeah, I mean, I love Ferraris, and they've always been something that they always like evoke an emotion in me. Yeah, I think especially red. If you're gonna get one, you gotta get red. Right. But I mean, I think the car game has literally become something. And that's kind of like why I did the show too, is because a lot of people are car people, and a lot of people like real estate. And why not put them in both? You know, like why not, so we can mix it up.
Right.
Jumping back to business. When it comes to structure versus sales skills versus marketing skills, which one would you rate most important out of the three? I know they're all important, so I know.
I'm gonna say marketing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have customers walking in the door,
what's the difference, right?
You can't. It doesn't matter how good your sales skills are, how good your structure is. I mean, now on the other hand, if you have customers walking in, you can't close a door, you can't close a deal, then that's an issue too. But yeah. I feel like you gotta learn marketing. Yeah. You have to learn marketing, because in this day and age, the marketplace is noisy. There's a lot of competition for your target audience, and if you're not breaking through the noise, you're not gonna scale. You're not gonna scale at all. So I think marketing is the most important out of the three.
I agree with you.
Close second would actually be, for me in my industry, is structure.
Yeah.
Sales is the last one, because I mean, sales, like, I feel like you can learn on the go, like from experience. Yeah. Like, yes, you can address the learning curve and try to make sure it doesn't take you too long to learn sales. But I feel like if you just keep getting in the batter's box, you'll learn the sales. Now the structure, the reason I put that at second is, in my industry, you're pulled in 1,000 different directions all the time. We are at the mercy of 30 people every hour. You know, you got realtors calling for this, you got customers calling for this, you got active customers that are, you know, in the pipeline going through the mortgage process that have questions. We need documents from them. So if you don't have structure to your day, you can go through a whole day and do a lot, but not get anything done.
Right.
And that's a bad problem in my industry, and what a lot of loan officers struggle with is they're not focused on the things that actually bring in business, and that's a problem, because you're always going to be the guy that does 3-4 deals a month then.
Yeah.
Or you do 5 deals 1 month and 1 the next. 5 deals, and that's that hot and cold. Right. That a lot of loan officers and realtors, because it's very similar, but that's when a loan officer is having hot and cold months, that means 1 month they're focusing on getting business, then that month after they're focusing on closing that business. Right. And then they're not focusing on getting business. Yeah. So it's an endless thing, and if you don't address that, especially when you get to that, I feel like that 4 or 5 deal a month mark, if you don't address that, the structure part, and being intentional with your time and day, you're always going to be there. You're going to be stuck.
Yeah. It's a terrible place to be at, because you're kind of like in
and maybe it's
flows and waves.
Maybe that's what you want. Maybe that's what you want. Me, I'm the type of individual that I want market share. Yeah. At all costs. And it's because I have a strong belief that a customer that works with me, it's better for them. So right. Why would I let any other mortgage person, any other company close the deal when I know I'm the best for the job? Right. So that comes from that belief, and that's why I want to get market share. I want to do X amount of deals per month, and then scale it to Y, and then scale it to Z, and just keep doing that.
That makes the most sense, is to grow that. And I mean, obviously, you're not going out there.
This is my neighborhood, by the way.
This is your neighborhood?
Yeah, this
We're
is
in your
South
hood.
Hempstead. Yeah, this is
where it all happened?
Where it all started. This 1 square mile right here, I've caused terror. But and then we're gonna cross, and now we're in Rockville Center, which is where I went to high school. It's South Hempstead is in Rockville Center School District. Gotcha. So this is Rockville Center. This is like the other side. You know, there's the Rockville Center kids, and then there's the South Hempstead kids. And we are the there's not many of us, but we stick together. You know. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
No, dude. Yeah. No, dude. I love it. I mean, so. As we look at really what the future of this industry is going to hold, there's someone watching right now who's thinking about getting a career in mortgages, and there's other people that are in it and they're trying to figure out how to get this thing done. Right. Because realistically, I think the mortgage business is very similar to the real estate business, where you probably 20% are really making like a majority of the money. Right. And then like 10% is really like controlling that marketplace and really dominating it. Right. So someone who's looking to really get going again or get started in it, what would you tell someone? What's the first thing you do when you're like, all right, I'm taking my business seriously now, I want to blow this up? What's the first step they got to do? You got to go all in with the marketing. That's going to look different for everybody, because everybody's different. Some people are on the other side of the spectrum of me, where they want to focus on consumer direct. Right. They want to, and that's a great game to be in, because now you're not relying on people to send you business and building a network. Right. But whatever sector and bucket you want to focus on, you got to go all in and figure out how I can increase the marketing in that bucket. For me, that's social media, because if I focus on that, I build more relationships, I get my name out there, I get more attention, I get loud in my marketplace. Yeah. And then the business just falls into my lap. And it's not that easy. I don't want to make it sound like it's easy, but because there's a lot of effort in putting the name out there, and making the phone ring. But that would be what I would focus on, is like going all in with my marketing. If it's social media for you, start building a brand, start putting out content, start doing the things that people have been telling you to do for 2 to 3 years. Yeah. You know, start producing video. Buy a cheap webcam. It's like, there's no secrets to this. It's just action and execution. what about someone who's like, well, Eric, like, what do I actually do? What do I say? Like, how do I?
I think that like the few like as far as like making videos and content.
Yeah, because a lot of people, that's where they get jammed up. Like, they know they need to do it,
Right.
but what? Like, what do they say? Because most people consider themselves not interesting,
Right.
Even though that's not true. That's what they think.
No.
And then they also believe it has to be like a Steven Spielberg type of production.
No.
What,
Like this?
Yeah.
So no, I think the best content that you can put out is stuff about you.
Yeah.
Stuff that makes, like, people want to do business with you. So the first few months of you starting to put out content should be a focus on you, not so much your industry. And what do I mean by that? How did you get started in the business? What do you struggle with? What are you really good at? What's a good experience?
Yeah.
It's your birthday. Make a video. Say it's your birthday.
Yeah.
Say you're grateful for everybody out there, and then I would start knocking out the frequently asked questions that we get on a daily basis. I mean, we get asked the same questions over and over and over again.
That's true.
Why not make a video for each one? You know? So yeah, I think it's focus on yourself is the best way you could the best content that you can put out.
Bro, so where are we?
My childhood house.
This is your childhood house? This is where you grew up?
This is where it happened. This is where I grew up. I just moved out, actually.
Oh,
so
really?
It's recent too, but my father still lives here, so we're good to park in the driveway.
That's good. So no one's gonna call the cops on us.
No, we're good. This is it.
Show me around.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is it, man. South Hempstead, born and raised. Apparently I know that guy. My father actually grew up here as well. That might be my girlfriend.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it is though. No, it's not. But this is where it all started, and I know everybody on this block. You know.
For better or for worse? Are you infamous or famous?
I'm famous now.
Good.
But nah, it was cool growing up here. Everybody was very close to each other. I know every single neighbor here. I was just telling Corey, everybody babysat me here. You know.
Oh, really?
That house, that house, that house, that house. You know, so very close with everybody.
So it's a good neighborhood, good people. So I mean, growing up, like, how was your childhood, man? Like, how was?
I'd say it's pretty normal. I mean, nothing traumatic, nothing. You know, it was just my father was a union carpenter.
Yeah.
My mom worked as an office manager. At some point in time, my father made the transition to FDNY. He's a paramedic there now. He's actually an instructor at the academy now. But
Cool.
It's not like wasn't poor but wasn't rich.
Yeah.
So you know, I had the hand-me-down clothes, but I always had food in the fridge. And I was a skater. That was my thing. Then it became cars. Then it became girls. But pretty normal.
It's good. That's good. And then when, as you got more into adolescence and things like that, what was the biggest transitions? What were some like impactful moments that you went through?
I think when I was going into high school, I think that's like where my path in life maybe went in the wrong direction. But now I see it as the right direction. But that's when, you know, you start experimenting with drugs and alcohol. And for me, like I believe that I was born an addict, and that's a part of my story, right? I'm 5 years sober now, but at that point in my life, thank you. At that point in my life, that's when it really started off innocent, and then it progressed to harder substances and frequency, and then you become dependent upon it at one point. And obviously that's never a good place to be dependent on a substance. And my grades started to slack. You know, I didn't care about you know, sports anymore. Didn't really care about anything except getting messed up. And you know, all my goals, I always talk about this, like all my goals and motivation and everything that I wanted to be when I grew up, or when I was growing up, took a back burner.
Wow.
And that was my main priority, above everything. Even the people I loved, and again, that never gets better, right? So it just kept getting worse and worse and more serious and more serious, until 5 years ago, I emotionally and spiritually had enough. And I made a decision to at least give it a shot, right? To at least give sobriety a shot, to give a new way of life, a new way of thinking a shot. I didn't believe that I could achieve sobriety. I thought I was doomed to live the way I was living for the rest of my life. But I made a decision to give it a chance. And I went away. I got sober. I connected with individuals. We talked about this.
Yeah.
You know, when I started the mortgage business, it was all about who I was around.
Yeah.
Same thing when I started that journey. Like, I connected with individuals who've been through a similar experience.
Right.
And they did it, right? So they laid the path down for me. I did what they did. I did what they said. And then I've been able to, you know, I've been afforded this second chance, right? I always say, like, I've lived two lives, you know, like the mortgage industry is just a blip of what what happened before, you know? So it's been crazy. It's been crazy, but I wouldn't change any of it. Like I said before, you know, I at the time you could say it was the wrong path, but in my head, that individual that I met that introduced me to the mortgage industry, I only met him because he was sober.
Gotcha.
Right? So he was successful in that part of his life and his work and everything else.
Yeah.
So if I didn't go down that path, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be sitting down. I wouldn't be, you know, driving in a Ferrari with you. You know, so I wouldn't replace anything. But it was definitely a rocky road, you know.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know that. So that's why I always like to talk about it, because yes, there is a stigma against addiction and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we all know somebody.
Of course.
We all know somebody. Some, you know, sometimes it's a lot closer than we'd like to home. So I think I always like to talk about it just because I feel like we can all learn from it, you know?
Yeah, and I'm glad you did, because, you know, when I met you, it's been, what, 2 years we know each other now?
Yeah.
In 2 years even, like the amount you've grown is what someone usually does in like 10, 15. So I could only imagine like even the growth from before that time. But I think there's a few things that I really like about your story, which we just dabbled into. One is the transformation you did.
Right.
Two is since then you've unforgivably enjoyed your life ethically in the right way, but most likely like you really take the most out of it, which is great. And I also think a lot of people need to realize that, you know, you really, no matter what someone's going through, whether that be internal or an external thing affecting them, there's really a road out once you decide, right? Because you decided at a certain point, and then that just happened. And you know, there's a cool picture you shared on Facebook. I got a little emotional when I saw it because it's just so different. It shows you in one sequence of your life to where you are today.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people should actually connect with you too and see that, you know, the comeback story is pretty cool. And the way you did it with such intensity was amazing.
And we all have our struggle, right?
Yeah.
So like, you've shared some of your story with me, and you know, we all have struggled with something in life, and when you do share that struggle with people, you now have, it's a different level of bond, right?
Yeah.
When you get vulnerable, and we were talking about social media and marketing before, like that's one of the things you need to do if you want to take your brand, if you want to build an audience, you need to get vulnerable, get real, because what ends up happening is you open yourself up, and it's risky, but you form connections with people that they're not going to get by looking at a picture, you know? But I think we all have our struggle, we all have our story, and when you've been through something, and I've always said this, like my favorite types of people are the people that have been through something.
Yeah.
Because when they're out on the other side of it, they're different.
Yeah.
They're different than from quote unquote regular people, right? They love deeper, they laugh harder, they enjoy and take up the moment and try to enjoy everything they have. Because they know the opposite. Yeah. They know the opposite. So, I, like you were saying, like today it's the problems that I deal with and the fires that I got to put out. That stuff is easy.
Cakewalk, right?
Yeah, that stuff is easy. That stuff is easy. You know, now I'm upset because Tesla stock went down. You know, like that's not a problem. Yeah. That's not a real problem. You know, but Yeah,
those are problems we wish for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Or our GoPro dies while we're driving a Ferrari.
That's right. Yeah.
And we got to switch it out. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
We're driving a Ferrari.
Yeah.
So.
It's true. I think one of the biggest takeaways that I have when I listen to your story is that whatever you want, you can have, especially once you decided on it. And it's not easy. It's actually, a lot of people don't realize it's actually much harder. Like, you can even admit, like, when you were going through that part of your life, that's actually harder to do and harder to live than what you're doing now.
100%.
So get in front of a camera, making marketing, building relationships with people, working late hours to get work done, being able to do stuff. Like, I saw you took your mom out to Italy.
Yeah.
You were able to do that, which is really, really cool.
That's one of the best experiences in my life. That's been my dream since a kid, to go to Italy. And when I got sober, or even before that, even in high school, I would always ask my mom, when are we going to Italy? Because we're Italian. So when are we going to Italy? I want to see the Colosseum. I want to see, where the gladiators fought. And her answer would always be, oh, when I turn 50, right? When I turn 50, when I turn 50. She turned 50, she turned 51, she turned 52, 53, 54, and she still never went. We never went. So one of the gifts of sobriety and the mortgage industry being, taking action, surrounding myself with the right people, and keeping a connection with God, one of the gifts that I received was the opportunity to take her to Italy.
This is awesome.
And that's what it's really about for me. Like, we can talk about taking action, we can talk about marketing, we can talk about even making a decision.
Yeah.
Above all of that, which a lot of people miss, is getting right with your spirituality.
Yeah.
Like, finding your purpose, connecting on a deeper level, like not just the money and stuff, not just the career, like connecting on a deeper level, and that's your foundation, that's the bedrock for everything else. And a lot of people will achieve success and then lose it because that wasn't in place, or they'll achieve success and not enjoy it because that wasn't in place, which is also a very common thing. So I have to throw that out there, because we can talk about achievements and success and business all we want till we're blue in the face, but if that's not the center of my life, I go back to what I once was.
Dude, that's powerful. That's very powerful. I think a lot of people neglect the spiritual being part of it, and they treat themselves just like a body. Right. And they're very mechanical, and they don't understand like the real purpose or drive. And I love that. That's probably one of the best things I've heard in this series, which is, it's true. It really is true. Someone who's watching right now that's rebounding from something, whether that be something that they have in their own lifestyle or rebounding from a loss, what would be your biggest thing, for that spirituality? What's the first step for you to like find yourself? What would you tell someone, help them find that?
All right. So, 'cause I've been in that place, right? So
yeah.
We can call it God, higher power. We can call it the universe. We can call it the spirit. Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Let's just, for lack of a better word, because there's not a, for lack of a better word, let's just call it God, right? So my question when I was going through that, like, and trying to rebound, like you said, and I asked somebody, I said, how do you build a relationship with God? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. What do you mean, relationship with God? And he said, the same way you build a relationship with anybody else, you spend time with them. You talk with them. You listen to them. And that may or may not make sense, or may not click right now. But when you're going through enough pain, if you choose to just spend, and you don't even, for me, I didn't believe in God. So now here I am talking about spirituality and God. That's like not who I am, right? I didn't believe in any of that stuff. But when I just said, you know what, let me just stop not believing, all right? Give it a shot, and I'm gonna spend time with this thing, and I'm gonna talk to a thing. And my first prayer to him was, I don't know if you're fucking real, but I need help. That was my first prayer. And everything that happened past that, I have a list in my phone of all the crazy experiences that I've had throughout this journey that like proved to me his existence, or an existence of something. But my advice would just spend time with him even if you don't believe in him. Talk to him even if you don't believe in him, and kind of
it's the first
just
step.
take it from there. Yeah.
You got to walk forward, right, to get there, right?
my brother-in-law is right here. Brian. Gio, come here.
What's up, guys? I was just picking my son up from school down the block.
Come here. You want to be in the video?
JB, what's going on?
What's going on, Brian? How are you?
How are you?
Hey, buddy. How are you? I'm JB. What's up?
What's up, brother?
Give me a hug. Why are you acting so weird? Come here.
Is this live right now?
No.
What are you guys doing?
Shooting a little episode.
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad I didn't come in to pull in the driveway with the car. Normally I park here and walk up to the school.
Oh, do you? So we
Yeah.
took your spot today. I'm
Nah,
sorry.
it's all good.
So
Worth it.
my brother-in-law and my sister live up the block.
We live like a
Oh, wow. So everyone's, yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, my
They bought a house over there. They're buying another house.
What they do
though.
their mortgage with? No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, I wasn't in the business
Oh,
yet.
you weren't? Okay.
No.
All right, you'll do the refi.
I'm doing their new one.
No, we're buying a new house.
Oh,
now.
good.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, so you'll be out by me?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
I live in Port Jeff.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, we're upgrading.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry to
No, it's all good. It's
I
perfect.
think that was perfect.
No, dude, it's perfect. No, but at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's about finding yourself, spirituality, then working to your potential, building relationships with people around you. And the thing I love about your story, just like everyone else here, is like you're just getting started.
Yeah.
So we get to watch like step one. And I'm really glad, you know, the way we met, because that was funny. Like we actually, everyone that I'm meeting, by the way, everyone that did the thing was like, we met in Vegas,
Right.
right? We met at 10X GrowthCon, I think.
Well, we met in Miami.
Oh, we met in Miami, not
Yeah, the
Vegas.
one after
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
We met in
But
Miami.
yeah, it was 10X GrowthCon.
Yeah,
Juan introduced us.
yeah.
You just did an episode with him, right?
I did, yeah. So you
So-
follow him, so it's just funny.
Yeah. So it was Juan introduced us, and ever since then we've been close.
FYI, this guy right here, when I made the decision to open up my company, he was there live. That
Yes.
like it literally happened.
I saw the moment, Tilbury Success Solutions started.
That's right, dude. So, I mean, this is great, and I'm glad that you showed us everything and like shared your story with us. We still got to ride home though, so
Perfect.
let's give these guys some strong advice on the way home, like what
Yeah.
they can do to blow up. Eric, thanks again, bro.
Thank you.
Bro, so thank you for sharing your story, dude. I don't think a lot of people realize, like, a lot of people hold back some stuff and they don't realize how many people actually inspires and helps. So,
Holding back your story is selfish.
yeah,
Selfish, and it's your story. Like, why would you hold it back?
yeah,
You know, it's an asset.
it's who you are today,
Right.
which is a big deal. So, what does Eric Braun like to do for fun?
Work. I like to dance. I
Okay,
like to dance.
like for fun or like Chris Brown status?
Nah, I like Latin music. I'm like Charles.
Okay,
So my buddy that we just saw pull up on us,
Yeah.
he's Colombian, so I grew up with his family, and I know how to dance bachata, salsa, merengue. I enjoy that. I also like house music. I'm very versatile when it comes to music, so anything music is what I'm about, I would say. And then also like just sitting down, talking
Yeah.
with friends. I think that's something I also enjoy.
no, that's a huge piece. And what do you do for education? Like, how do you keep your mind sharp? What's the tactical edge?
I am a big podcast person. I started to dive into Audible about February. So I'm doing a lot of, I've listened to a few different books. Right now I'm listening to Sell or Be Sold
Nice.
by our man Grant Cardone. And yeah, in the beginning I was doing a lot of not business books and not so much sales or marketing or education on that. It was more so personal development,
Yeah.
self-help books, how to win friends and influence people, which is a
Dale
lot
Carnegie.
of,
Yeah, that's a great book.
Think and Grow Rich, Miracle Morning, a lot of different books like that.
Yeah.
The Magic of Thinking Big. So that's, as far as education, it's a lot of YouTube, I'm not a big reader, so it's a lot of YouTube. I can listen and watch, so a lot of YouTube, podcasts, and Audible.
So you're a listen and watch guy.
Yeah.
That's what most
100%.
people do these days. Also, when you're on the go, like, I don't know about you, dude, but my car becomes my office most of the time.
Yeah.
because you're all over the place. So like if you can listen instead of watch, it just helps so much more. You can absorb faster because when you get home at 1 a.m. sometimes or midnight, and popping open a book and getting that reading is not as easy as one might think.
Yeah. That sounds like something I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
No, I'm just not a reader. I know that about myself. But if you think about it, like if your average commute is 30 minutes, 45 minutes, like that's an hour and a half, an hour of time that you could pour into yourself with Audible, with podcasts, with tools that we have available today.
Right.
And you could make the argument that you can become an expert at anything.
Yeah.
If you're spending an hour a day, hour and a half a day learning about it.
Yeah.
I do a lot of documentaries on Sundays too.
Oh, that's good.
That's like whether it be history or just any random documentary that's on Netflix. I enjoy learning.
Yeah.
And Charles actually inspired me, and so did my girlfriend. She goes to NYU, but I actually want to go to college, not for a degree because I don't have the time nor the need for a degree, right?
Right.
But I want to just pick up like a class, just one class.
Yeah, formal education.
Just I want to sit in the classroom and learn, but I want to be able to pick the class that so I'm figuring out how you can get that done. I think I have to wait till 2021 for some reason, the new season or something like that. But I'm getting more info on that, and that's something I'm looking forward to for sure.
Yeah.
I want to pick up like a history class or an economics class, a finance, a banking class, stuff that I can use, but also stuff that I don't need necessarily in my industry as well, just stuff that I'm interested in.
Like more well-rounded.
Yeah, just want to learn.
I'm like that too. I love that. I think a lot of people in our circles feel the same way. Like we're constantly liking to learn. And speaking of learning, I think that the more research we do and stuff, the more ideas we have. And I want to get your ideas on some stuff.
Go ahead.
All right. So one is what's the future of our industry? What's the real estate market / mortgage market look like 5-10 years from now?
All right. So technology is becoming more prevalent, right? If it hasn't already.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be more of a focus on video.
Yeah. Absolutely.
When selling a house.
Yeah.
The mortgage industry is always a decade behind when it comes to technology for whatever reason. But I'm going to say there's going to be some big advancements in how loans get done on the back end when it comes to software and technology and stuff like that. However, what you said reminds me of a quote. I don't know it word for word, but it was Jeff Bezos. But it was an interview, and the interviewer was asking Jeff Bezos, "Hey, like, you guys are a very forward-thinking company. Like, what is going to change with Amazon in 5 to 10 years from now? Like, what advancements are you going to do to adapt to a new environment?"
Yeah.
And his response was, like, as much as that's important, what we like to ask ourselves is what's going to be the same, right? And let's get very good at that.
Yeah.
So for me, that's communication with customers, education with customers. That's going to be needed 5, 10, 50, 100 years from now. Nobody is taught about mortgages, and it's a very complicated process. So let's get super good at explaining, communicating, and educating, so that regardless of what changes around it, whether the ways we deliver that information or the way we process a loan, that is at the forefront.
Right.
And that's just something that I've been diving in on. I'm investing heavily into customer experience, because what we also have to realize with technology evolving is, like, when somebody buys a house or somebody gets a mortgage, they're not comparing, especially first-time home buyers, they have nothing to compare that experience to, right? They've never bought a house before. What they're comparing you to is click and buy on Amazon.
Right.
Download on Apple Music. So, like, we have to level up our game, because 100%. We're being compared to Amazon, even though it's a complete, like, they're buying toothpaste on Amazon and they're buying a house here or getting a mortgage here. even though that's completely different things, there's still, everybody's comparing their customer experience to all the other things that they buy.
Yeah.
So,
Taking inside or outside? What are you doing?
inside.
He's going. I forgot I'm in a Ferrari. I don't need the brake.
That's